This week on Waxing the Porpoise, G-Baby and the usual suspect Steve once again call upon the auspiciously enigmatic and cinematic maven Miles to help us parse through 1999's intriguingly abstruse techno-mystical game within a reality within a matrix, David Cronenberg's eXistenZ. Grab your VR headsets and get ready for a direct upload of existential dilemmas, hog expansion, and warped perceptions in what some might call a precursor to Inception. On this episode, we'll talk about the perhaps collective Cronenberg family trauma manifesting as grotesque body horror art, the fatwa issued against Salman Rushdie, the cyclical nature of our world, and gelatinous reptile amphibian cuisine. The porpoises, midnight companions and keen observers, dare to gleam the cube once more, where in eXistenZ, the truth is as elusive as a hall of smoke and mirrors, and reality bends like Beckham. Maybe the real treasure was the eXistenZ we found along the way.
It's not a bug. It's a mutated amphibian. It's a frog.
Let's wax this transcendental porpoise.
Chase, don't do that.
See, we working on his brow chakra. We're just in back at the crown chakra.
All right, welcome to Waxing the Porpoise. We are back again on episode 67. This time we're talking about eXistenZ from 1999. This evening you got myself, Jim G. Baby.
Like I'm taking his wallet. Don't be taking me pizza, son. Don't be taking my pizza, lad.
And of course we have the usual suspect, Steve.
I've always enjoyed the camaraderie of good friends competing in games of chance and skill.
How's it going, man?
Doing good, man. It's such a good underrated movie.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that one, Game Night, Miles?
I have not, no. What year is that?
I don't know. It's like maybe 2013, between 2013 and like 2016, somewhere in there.
I think it's later than that.
More recent?
I was thinking man, maybe 2018, but time is all messed up the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So.
It's kind of like a cheese ball. I went into it thinking like, oh, this is some dumb like date movie, like rom-com kind of movie, but it's actually really fucking funny.
It's
good. I remember the ads for it whenever it came out, but yeah, no, I haven't gotten to that one yet.
Jesse Plemons is the crazy cop neighbor.
Oh, nice.
It's so good.
Yeah, I forgot about it, and you had mentioned it, and I went back and I saw some of the greatest hits. His name's Gary, the police officer. He's this real awkward fucking creeper, and he's got some great lines in that movie. And special guest returning once again, we have Miles.
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
How's it going, man?
Perfect.
Have you ever seen any of those John Wicks, Steve?
Yes, I believe I've seen the first 3. I don't think I've seen the 4th one yet.
I haven't either. I tried watching a cam and it was fucking sputtering out on me, so I said I'll just wait for the real deal. But
I saw it in theaters. It's good. It's really good. I'd say it's the best one.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like them all equally, but I think 3 is cool because I like that they have fuck is his name? Dacascos in it. Mark Dacascos, the dude.
Yeah.
What was his name? Yanni in Brotherhood of the Wolf? The Native American badass. Steve, you remember that?
Yeah.
He's in the 3rd one. He's like the the mini boss. The very end.
I don't know if I ever made that connection. I'm sure we talked about it and I completely forgot. So.
He's a lot older, to be fair. And I think he doesn't have long ass hair, but at any rate, yeah, we're glad to have Miles back joining us to talk about this one. This is directed by David Cronenberg, whose fame precedes him. Steve, I don't know if you're probably familiar maybe with like The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
I looked up his credits, and that was the only one that really jumped out at me. I haven't seen it. Shocker, but
it's pretty rad, actually. I was thinking too, maybe you would have latched on to like History of Violence or Eastern Promises.
Yeah, I've seen History of Violence. Haven't seen Eastern Promises.
Those are definitely like his more mainstream offerings, and that kind of don't carry his. He's got like a distinct style. He's definitely into like body horror, which is showcased in this flick we'll get to talk about. Like, so those are two. It's kind of weird that the violence level's there, but it's weird that he directed those films, because they just feel like hard action flicks. Previous to that, his previous like 10, 15 films, are you about to lose power?
No, we're
Rolling
good.
blackouts?
It's just this lamp.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like his previous body of work to that before that is kind of a little incongruous with like going with History of Violence and Viggo Mortensen back to back with Eastern Promises. But anyway, yeah, I think this is a good like if you're cool with eXistenZ and you're like intrigued by it, then you should go back and like check out some of his previous flicks, like Videodrome, Fly's got a lot of body horror, Naked Lunch. What are some? Crash is fucking weird. Scanners is a classic one. Scanners is fucking awesome. The Brood. I know aren't you a big fan of The Brood, Miles?
I do like The Brood. Yeah, I was actually on an episode of A Cut Above where
That's right.
Talked about that. Yeah, this is my second time on a podcast in a row talking about Cronenberg. I guess I don't know how I got designated the Cronenberg expert, but
I just thought that you would be you'd be a good guest for it because you're kind of in like the horror crowd.
Yeah,
and this is like, I guess this kind of skirts the edges of horror, but you have like the Cronenberg pedigree in there. So, and this is one actually I haven't seen in a long time. I only saw it once or twice as a lad, so I was kind of curious to see how it held up for me. But I guess cutting right to the chase, what do you think of this one, Steve?
This one is not for me.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, and we had joked a few weeks ago. I don't remember if it was on the show or off, where I was like, "You need to slip in a movie that is just uncontested garbage to see if I go with it." Like, yeah, it's pretty good. And about halfway through this movie, I was thinking, this could be the Trojan horse. I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just not my style. I'm not a big sci-fi guy. I have a really hard time getting into it. I don't think it's like the worst movie ever made. I just think it might be the worst movie I've ever seen.
Damn.
No,
even more than like
put that on the box.
Damn. Even more than fuck it. What was that one that Chris came on for? Versus
was rough. Yeah, that one, it's a different kind of rough. Like this one, without jumping to the end, I was out pretty early on this one. The flat line happened, but I was trying to stick with it. And then there's essentially two endings in this movie. The first one, I was like, there's life here. So I was trying to like think back, knowing what the ending was, like, okay, I could see retroactively enjoying it, sort of plugging this in, and then when the second ending happens, it's like, nah, I'm back to off this.
Really? I kind of like the second ending of it, but all right. Well, that drops our average very slightly down to an 85. I was hoping to get up into the B plus range, but
I feel additionally bad because I feel like it's been a while since we've had a no, and that was the last no when Miles was on for Possession.
For Possession?
No.
Okay.
The last stinker we had was Basic Instinct.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's actually been quite a while since we had Miles on. Miles, you were on for episode 31, which was a good 35 episodes ish ago.
It doesn't seem like that long ago.
Yeah, it doesn't. Time flies. But yeah, we were on I was killing it with like a fucking 12 movie win streak.
Nice.
So,
yeah, and if it makes you feel any better, Steve, I didn't like this movie either. This is. I'll echo what you said. This might not be the worst movie Cronenberg's ever made, but it's the worst Cronenberg movie I have seen.
Yes.
That's interesting. I was just about to ask you that, and I think This is, even though I suggested it, I actually didn't really care for it this time either. And I was trying to remember, like, what was it? Was it just edgy and being like 17 or 18 watching this and thinking it was cool? Because this time I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to or wanted to.
Yeah. It I'm trying to think of when it started losing me. I don't know. I guess near the beginning, when I started hearing like the really bad accents and the really kind of awkward dialogue, which Cronenberg's movies haven't. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, they haven't been like, like Tarantino level dialogue or anything, but it just seemed like all the performances were like super awkward. Like all the line readings were like, "Why did you pick that take?" And then everybody's accent, everybody is doing an accent, and they all sound terrible. Which, as we get on to the movie, is probably intentional, but. Yeah, no, it really threw me off at first.
I thought the dialogue seemed intentionally bad. Like I was laughing out loud at a few times. Like, what the fuck? This is so ridiculous.
Yeah, I think there was something right out of the gate too. I was like, I don't like what Jude Law is doing. Like he just sounds like kind of like a sycophantic, like real, like a corporate fucking. I don't know. He's doing something. He has a weird affectation. I couldn't tell if he was fighting through his British accent, trying to do like some like.
Well, he's so good in Enemy at the Gates, which is kind of close to this in time frame, right? Like within a year or two.
I think Enemy of the Gates was like 2000, 2001, so a couple years following this.
But yeah, he did such a good job in that movie. He definitely felt a little wet behind the ears in this one.
Yeah, everybody in this has been in like really great in other things, and then I just think it was like either the directing or the dialogue, like the actual dialogue itself, it just sounded so awkward. And again, it might have been intentional. I don't know. I know some of those accents might have been, but
I guess I would argue maybe they could have tried to make it intentional to its detriment with all of the different realities, because I have seen people call out, like Allegra Geller, her hair is a certain way when they're in eXistenZ versus when they're in the game within the game. So what is it, like transcendence or whatever? It's different there. And then in the quote unquote real world, which I'm doing quotes because it's so hard to for me, it was hard to tell which one is the real world. And that was what could be one of my questions to you guys is, which one of these instances did you think was the grounded quote unquote,
I didn't
real
give
world?
A fuck. I did not care.
Oh fuck.
Perfect answer.
Okay, well shit, we know where you stand with it, but
I'd say just from what the movie was telling us, the last one we saw might not have even been the real world. It kind of left it on a cliffhanger there.
Yeah, the way they both glance at each other and they're like, fuck, yeah, good question. We don't really know, And I saw there was a really shitty like work print alternate ending where they look at each other like, yeah, I don't know, and then they just blow that dude away, and then it cuts to black instead.
That sounds fucking hilarious. I wish that would have been the one.
I kind of was too. I was like, fuck, go out with a bang, goddammit. Literally. Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
I did for some reason that struck me though, like the fake dog coat when they pulled that off to go for the guns.
Yeah.
When they killed the two people at the end. I thought that was fucking pretty rad. I was like, I've never seen that. Like a faux dog coat
fur
hiding a holster.
Yeah. And it's stuff like that where I'm like, maybe this is intentionally like goofy. Because there's a couple scenes in this that made me like laugh out loud.
Yeah. And again, I want to say that maybe they're trying to kind of lead you on or make you feel like, are you in the game? Are you not? So kind of, I think they did a couple interesting things like at the beginning starting out when the movie begins, like where we are just in this like weird church. They don't tell you what year it is. It's kind of like a nebulous quasi like dystopian light, maybe kind of future, or just like an alternate version of the world. But I think they do a couple things that were interesting, but like that. And then like this time I didn't pick up on like when Ted's like, where are we going to go at midnight to get a bioport or whatever, like your local country gas station. And then it cuts to, and it says country gas station.
Yeah.
Like I didn't pick that out the first time. I was like, oh, okay. Maybe that's a little on the nose, but
yeah. And even some of the stuff that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that back to the acting part too. I'm not a big fan of Jennifer Jason Leigh at all. And the way she delivers her lines, it's kind of like that's what you get in every movie. It's like she doesn't move her mouth all the way when she talks. It's like she's always like talking out of the side of her mouth, and she could give a fuck. Like she's just so like blasé about everything. I'm not the biggest fan of her.
Jim and I both, I think, have this weird thing with people's voices and like vocal tics or speech impediment or little things that when we cue in on, it's like I can hear nothing else except that thing. Yeah. Her voice sounded so much like Miles. I don't know if you also have terrible taste in TV like Jim and like the TV show Roseanne.
Dude,
yes, she sounded exactly like that one daughter in Roseanne, and it was driving me nuts.
Darlene?
Sure.
I have seen a few episodes. I've never super into Roseanne, but no, I'm familiar with it. Yeah,
that's actually hilarious because I was watching Roseanne with the fam like at dinner just before this podcast. So,
nice.
Yeah, I could definitely see if you're talking about Darlene, the way she's just like, like,
yeah, we need to go.
Yeah, Something about her.
I was surprised she's so much older than Jude Law in this, because that was the first thing I looked up was how old she was and how old he was, because I thought he was going to be older and I thought she was going to be younger. But yeah, she looks great for being like 40 or something in this.
Is she 40?
Is that how old she is? God damn.
I'd have to double check my math. I know she's 60 now, so maybe like 37 or something like that.
Yeah,
damn.
That's 10 years older than him.
She's 60.
Yeah,
I did see that too. That she was like almost a decade.
Older, I think at least 10 years older than him.
Yeah, that's wild. She had one line that cracked me up too. I think it's like when they stop off thereabouts when they need to remove the bullet or the tooth out of her shoulder, and she sees that or Jude Law sees that critter with two heads. Yeah. He's like, what is that? And she's like, I don't know. It's some fucking frog. Like just the way she delivered that fucking cracked me up. I don't know why, but yeah, okay. So I guess getting into it, like, yeah, we're in this weird kind of alternate future thing, and it surrounds like a video game device backed by this company called, what is it, Arrow?
Oh, it was I did not write that down.
Something like that. Anyway, like
antenna research
or something. Antenna research.
Yeah.
And then the other one is cortical systematics.
And so like all these people are assembled to try out this new game, and it's like you get the Cronenberg influence right away. His kind of trademark of like the body horror. It's like a bioorganic. It's like a synthetic module. So instead of made out of like a motherboard and parts and hard plastic, it looks like a fucked up like narfled cow udder with like nipples on it and shit, and an umbilical cord that they call an umbi cord.
Dude, all of those little things, you know how that shit just bugs the shit. Dude, even her backpack, which is a ski boot, I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, dude, I am right there with you on that. Whenever, and it's not just this movie too, it's some of Cronenberg stuff. Whenever he shows the technology, like the sci-fi technology in movies, it looks fucking stupid. It looks so ridiculous. When he answers the phone, it's like a little piece of flesh.
Yeah.
And it's glowing. It's like, where would you even know where's the button at? Like, how would you like? I don't know if do you guys watch Rick and Morty?
I don't.
I never
I've
have.
never caught it.
They do a lot of they get a lot of their humor from like sci-fi stuff, and they pull a lot from Cronenberg, and they always have these fucking stupid. They look like 6-sided dildos, like flesh devices, and I know they pull. It just looks completely ridiculous, and I know they pull those from Cronenberg. But yeah, I've always thought the technology in his movies, even in the movies where it looks good, or even the movies that I like better than this. Like he just came out with Crimes of the Future. I don't know if you saw that one, Jim.
I haven't seen it. I've wanted to.
It's very similar to this and like the vibe of it. It doesn't have anything to do with like virtual like VR, but it's very similar to this in terms of tone, and it has a lot of the same like weird kind of technology where it's like blending with human bodies, but it looks stupid there too, and that movie's way better than this. It always looks super goofy and impractical. Like I can never buy into it.
Yeah, I've wanted to see that, and then during research for this, I saw some people say that Crimes of the Future, in some way, it could be like loosely in the same universe, or it's like a spiritual successor to eXistenZ. Which my viewing of it, even though it's bad, I don't think that would prohibit me from watching it. But I'm curious to see, because there's some things in this movie that I liked that I thought were interesting. What did you guys think of the bone gun?
Dumb.
The bone pistol.
Dumb. Doesn't make any fucking sense at all. I mean, why not? What? It could be anything.
Yeah, if I was scrolling through Instagram and saw that like some like weird like alternative artist is like, he made a post and it was like, oh, he designed this gun made out of skin and teeth, I'd be like, that looks pretty badass. It shouldn't be in a movie, or it was kind of stupid.
It's the newest like steampunk variant,
right?
Skeleton punk, crypt punk.
When it shoots teeth, why not just make some weird silicone gun? Like everything looks like a fucking jellyfish in this movie, so why not make a gun that looks like some weird? And yeah, when the double-headed gecko thing came out, I was like, all right, hopefully we're not going down this road. And then we went so far down that
road. and not to jump ahead, but when near the end, when they blow through the windows out and the guy rushes in, and he takes her gaming device flesh thing and throws it on the bed and just sends it straight to hell, just blast.
Yeah.
She blasted to hell and she starts screaming, dude. I was laughing my ass off. It was like he's like just blowing a raw chicken breast away. It's so funny. And she's no.
Yeah, he fucking shreds the shit out of that thing. I wasn't expecting that exactly, but yeah, they just go for it. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna machine gun your little baby here. I saw that was another weird thing. Like I don't know if Cronenberg told her to do this, but I guess Jennifer Jason Leigh was very precious about her game pod. Like she had to carry it around, and she was trying to get like imbue it with like the motherly like aspect.
Right. Yeah.
Of being so, precious and protective of it, and the fucking boot. She made certain she had to have her ski boot fucking purse.
And to get into where I started having problems with this movie, I mean, all that, the goofiness and kind of weird dialogue aside, because I think Crimes of the Future has all that, but it has a like story that's it's just as weird, but it has a story that's actually coherent. But part of the problem started with this, where they don't explain like the world, like so they imply that that VR is like very prevalent and like around. Most people have those bioports and everything. It seems like it's around,
right?
But for some reason, the game she's designing is dangerous. For what reason? Like what? Like why is it? It never explains like what's different about with her game and whatever other kind of VR is out there.
Right. Yeah, the only thing that I could see distinct about it was that it was like the game system and the game are one and the same. And whereas it alluded to, there's other games and there's been other, there's been upgrades of these metapods, the actual system. And the only difference with eXistenZ was, other than it was coming from, this virtuoso kind of like genius game developer who was like the Michael Jordan of VR in this time and place, was that, yeah, it was the system and the game were one and the same and you interacted with it. But yeah, I agree. There, like some of the cuts to, like when Ted Pikel first jacks in, I guess, like that kind of change was really abrupt. And then when he changes and he's in that weird fucking trout farm amphibian slaughterhouse thing was real, like, I don't know if it was abrupt or if it was so seamless that it's kind of disarming, because you're like, wait, okay, are we somewhere else? Like, where is he now? What is this place?
It seemed like they weren't aware. It seemed like they were just surprised with the transition, because it seemed like he didn't know where he was at. It seemed like he had to orientate himself
right
there for a second. But yeah, I think that might have been intentional, because I think what the game like booted them to the next level or whatever.
Yeah, I would have liked as a viewer though to like be informed, whether it's signposts or something in the background telling us, or
yeah.
So this is where I felt a little bit of hope in the first.
Oh, really?
No, not this part. No, God, no. This was horrific. And I just kept checking over and over how long into the movie it was. But when you get to the first ending, and we find out that just to jump forward before we jump back a little bit, that Ted and Allegra, it's not her game, right? They're in the other guy's game, and they're just characters in it. So as that is sort of revealed, I'm sort of doing the backwards math, like, okay, well, that makes sense why none of this shit made any sense. And, I was trying to, like, bridge the gap. It still just didn't really hold up for me, though. Even with that little glimmer of hope of, well, this kind of explains why none of that shit made any sense, because they're the saboteurs. But yeah, even still, like, the more I think about it, the angrier I get. But when they sent him to the Chinese restaurant, first of all, Willem Dafoe was great. He was probably the highlight. Yeah,
and he wasn't in very long. I thought he was in this longer.
I was bummed.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, when the one guy gives him the message to go to the Chinese restaurant, it's like, okay, maybe something cool is about to happen, and then just no.
He eats a plate of this fucking gelatinous, like, gefilte fish fucking amphibian shit with, like, it's like that jelly when you get, like, a rotisserie chicken and you put it in the fridge and you get it the next day and all the fat and the juices have, like, coagulated. Oh, man, that was hard to watch for me. Like, I'm a big, like, texture, like, watching him, like, sift through that and make the bone gun was like...
Yeah, there was a couple scenes in this that made me kind of squirm and kind of gross me out. Him eating that. Anytime they ever do anything with their little holes in their little ports in their back.
Yeah, that shit was gnarly.
They're like licking the thing and plugging it in.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It made me feel like a lot of that was intentional. Like some of the comedy, because going back to Dafoe, he's hilarious in this too, because you have the least trustworthy man that's ever existed, like, visually. Be like, no, trust me, I'm gonna blow this hole in your back with this.
Yeah, and then he says, "How many have you done?" 3, and he's like, "Well, you'll be the 3rd." And it's like, oh fuck, dude. Yeah, he definitely seems like a sketchy character
when he sticks his tongue in it towards the end.
Ugh. Yeah, that shit's gnarly. Yeah, I think the
I've never been turned on and nauseous at the same time. It's very interesting.
Very confusing.
Yeah, I'm experiencing a lot of emotions right now.
That's where the eXistenZ male enhancement comes from.
Yeah,
just pop this movie and you'll get.
I can't be the first one to make that mistake googling that movie.
Oh yeah.
I told
when you
Jim,
said that, I was like, dude, yeah.
eXistenZ, yeah. I every time I would Google this movie, I would misspell it. And it's weird. I don't know if that supplement is linked to this movie, or I mean, I don't know how it would be, but even the way it's spelled is like, isn't like the X in it, like
Yeah, the X is
Capital, the rest of
capital,
Yeah.
and the Z too at the end. Like, yeah, it's spot on. Like, if you put them next to each other, they look almost like a mirror image.
The same word.
If you just adjusted the font just a tiny bit, they'd be the same word. But I guess to set up too, like just the basic, like who's against who. That you have a faction of people that are called the realists that are railing against like this whole the idea, like on a ideological or a philosophical level, like VR is ruining the world and everything. So that's kind of like those are the sides that we have, and we're kind of.
But do we even know if that's true? Like.
No, but I think that's part of the movie. It's making you, question what's real, what's not.
Whoa,
I guess to put it right on the nose.
It's like it went from a shitty Matrix knockoff to a shitty Inception knockoff, and
I heard people say like, what is it? eXistenZ crawled so Inception can run or whatever, and
totally.
I don't know about that, but
this
it's
came
got
out
tinges.
Same year as The Matrix too.
Yeah. The only thing I will say is I don't know if it was shot and shelved for like a year, but it was supposed to come out in 98. But they could have waited, and that was just the plan, and it actually was made in 98, 99 and released the same year, but yeah, it's got tinges. I mean, even with like them jacking in, like the bioport is similar to in Matrix, you have it in the back of the head. So, yeah, there's a lot of parallels for sure.
Yeah, put it on the shelf. We'll fix some stuff. We'll release it. We'll release it next year. What is another virtual reality movie going to come out in 1999 that everybody cares about? Like,
yeah. Yeah, it definitely got overshadowed, and I think from what I saw, it got it got minimal marketing, and it didn't get it got a wide release, or no, it got a limited release and not a wide release, and it got dick for marketing, so it bombed pretty hard, I think, at the box office, and even in Cronenberg's native Canada, it didn't do well at all.
Hard to find too now. Even it's not streaming anywhere. You can rent it, but it's not anywhere to stream like Netflix, Paramount, Max, any of that. All of the forms of DVDs and Blu-ray releases are no longer in print. Because I usually, if I'm reviewing something, I like to buy a physical copy of it just for all the bonus features and commentary and stuff, just so I can get some insight into it. But yeah, no, I sent Jem a screenshot. I tried to look for a Blu-ray on Amazon, and it's out of stock, so it's a secondhand market now. So it was $129 for the standard Blu-ray.
I was gonna say, dude, Steve's about to shit.
Oh man, it's funny. I watched it on Paramount Plus.
Really?
Is it streaming there now?
Yeah.
Huh. Crazy.
I searched for it, and it didn't say it was streaming anywhere.
I did.
Weird. It's just more boner pills keep coming up. Like, I cannot find this anywhere.
Keep spelling. Yeah, no wonder my ass couldn't find the link.
All right. One thing I thought I did think was pretty cool was, other than Willem Dafoe getting his like throat blown out, that was a pretty cool scene with that like pneumatic fucking bioport tool, was like when things started blurring together, and then at the end when they talk about so the real, quote unquote, real game designer, I think his name was Nourish within eXistenZ, but then when they come out, he was the and shout out to Sarah Polley. Did you notice her in there? The assistant lady with at the end, the gal and the dude who played Nourish that were like the actual game makers that get killed at the very end. She was in God damn it, Zack Snyder's remake, The Day of the Dead.
Oh, is she?
She's like the main gal, like
Dawn
of the Dead, the main protagonist lady, the blonde.
Oh shit! I did not recognize her at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's been in a couple things. I guess she stopped acting in like 2010 or something, and she's gone on to have like a renaissance, like as a writer and a director. I think she won an Oscar in like 2022. But yeah, I was like, oh shit, Sarah Polley from that fucking zombie movie.
Nice. Yeah, I did not make that connection. Almost everybody else in this movie I recognized, but yeah, she didn't. Could not place.
But so when that dude, he's sitting there talking to her, he's like, oh man, that's weird. You know, like it's like the game took from Ted and Allegra, like their like anti-game resentment, you know, and because he was a little befuddled, like why the game story took that route. So I thought that was kind of interesting that that the game kind of adapted or gleaned from maybe what the people were thinking. That's just like an inference, but
yeah, the game in the game did the same thing. The eXistenZ was supposed to do the same thing.
Yeah, it was like
seemed
an
like she
inversion.
didn't know what the
like they were the game designers. They were the quote unquote good guys going through fighting someone trying to assassinate her. When it's like, so I like those kind of like easy parallels to look at and see like, oh yeah, it's a mirror image. And but it's interesting, like some of the like the ideas that the game kind of took little pieces and made it and ended up changing the story to the chagrin of the dude who made it didn't see it going that way. So I thought that was cool. And I like that, like, you know, the very beginning, you start out, it's another mirror image, and all those people you see, it's like you see Willem Dafoe, he was just a player in the game, and Ian Holm. I kind of liked that. I know I'm probably the only one going to bat real hard for this one, because I don't think I didn't care for it as much as you guys did, but it still was. I was like, yeah, fuck, man, this was a bad beat. I could have. Well, that done was better than this one.
That was the brief section where I thought they might be able to pull me back in here, but it was just too little, too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Oh yeah, and some of the problem I have with, and essentially when this ends, it's essentially everything was a dream type scenario, and I've always had a problem with those because it kind of invalidates everything that happened. Before it's like none of that mattered. Like it's like any of the logic issues or story problems that would have been there if it was just a straightforward story and that was actually reality. You can kind of wave that away and say, oh well, it was just part of the game. That's why it didn't make any sense. And it's like, well then, what was I watching it for? Like, none of it mattered. So like,
yeah. Do you think that's maybe a cop out for, you know, or a way to explain away taking chances or doing something wacky from like a director's standpoint? Like, oh yeah, if they don't like it, then, you know, maybe we can firm it up and have a real strong ending and then explain it away that way. Like, oh, well, it was part of the game and, you know, this kind of thing. Or
it could be. It could be, but I mean, I feel like other movies have done it better. I mean, we mentioned Inception, like that kind of leaves on is this real or is it a dream ending? And I mean, it worked really well because everything else in the movie before that made sense. Or like another movie I thought of when watching this that I thought, you know, was way better was Total Recall. That movie works no matter how you interpret it. It could all be a virtual reality scenario. It could be real. They could be flip-flopped, and it works both ways because everything else makes sense. And it was like it doesn't really make sense either way. So yeah,
it seemed like he was just trying to be clever and interesting, and kind of fell short. Like I didn't think it was clever or interesting. And so, like with the Chinese waiter, I think that's the first time where they're like, we thought this was a good guy, but he's actually a bad guy, and this guy who you thought was a good guy is actually a bad guy. And by then, it's like, I don't care. I am uninterested in this weird, you know, bait and switch. Like this is what you thought, and now it's something else, and we're just going to do that for the next 45 minutes, and yeah.
This is some sick shit. Yup, it's about to get sicker.
I had a problem with that scene. I didn't like the way Jude Law, I didn't like the tone on his voice when he said Chinese waiter. I was like, that's a little problematic. I was like, why could you just say waiter? He was, did
Right?
you not hear me? Chinese waiter. I was like, whoa. I was like,
that's right. Yeah.
I forgot about that part. Yeah. Yeah, it was very. Yeah, everything seems so referential too, and basic. It reminded me of like a communist state or something, because they're like, go to the Chinese restaurant and ask for the special, and you go and it says Chinese restaurant on the outside of the place, So maybe that he just had to like everything, he had to call it out and reference it. But I did think it was weird when he was just like, I have a feeling like I'm. What's he say? Like, I'm angry, or like I have to kill this guy, or I have
the urge to kill somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I guess maybe if it were stronger and like, it sounds like we had problems with a couple of the characters. I know I did I didn't really like Pichel's kind of like smarmy, like goofball kind of nerd, fish out of water. I didn't care for him, and I'm not a big fan of Jennifer Jason Leigh, and I think maybe if the story would have been more interesting, that would have served this film a lot better.
His character didn't seem to go anywhere. Like, if he was the uptight nerd who, at the beginning, but it didn't feel like he progressed. I feel like he was in that place at the beginning, and then through, his experience and him being exposed to her, and I guess everything's like a metaphor for like sexuality, opening up with his sexuality, and then he became more and more comfortable with himself as the movie went on. I thought it would have justified itself, him being so weird at the beginning, but he never really changed that I could see.
Yeah, he kind of just seems to go with the flow and like, okay, we're doing this now. Like, yeah, I got to get a bioport injected into my back, and then we're on to this next thing. And yeah, he did seem kind of very matter of fact, and he was just going through the motions of things. I feel like Ian Holm was really underutilized in this too. The old guy, like, I don't know if he's Swedish, or he had a weird sounding name. I can't remember what it was. Started with a V, and he's at the like the ski hut or the ski lodge, and even on the outside of that, it says like ski lodge on the outside of his establishment. And you find out he's like the mentor to Allegra Geller, like kind of like a surrogate kind of father figure, and he's the one who initially like tries to fix her bioport that's been tampered with or sabotaged by gas. Yeah, a lot of that stuff too. It does get a little convoluted, like with, especially at the end, with how it gets like diseased, and then they're having to like fix the metapod. Oh, but then Ted's bioport was like fucked up and tampered with, and I did like when they give her like, what's she say? I have to like disinfect, or I have to sanitize, your bioport, and she sticks that thing in the back. And I like how they paid that off later when he's like, oh, you were the double agent actually the whole time, and fucking blows his back out. I thought that was kind of cool. I didn't see that coming this time, or I didn't remember that part.
That was one of the few things that paid off later on in the movie that they set up and actually paid off.
Yeah, one of the very few things. I think they could have done better to have Willem Dafoe stick around somehow a little bit longer. And I felt too like I don't know if you guys picked him up at the beginning. Christopher Eccleston, he was like the antenna research, the handler, I guess, or like the spokesperson at the very beginning, with like the blue shirt that gets shot in the chest.
Yeah,
he's like one and done. He's not even in this movie at all. Steve, you might remember him as I think his name was Raymond Calitri in Gone in 60 Seconds. I asked for 50 cars. This is 49 and a half.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't make that connection at all.
I think he's well known for a lot of other stuff, but I thought that would be one that you picked up on.
49 and a half.
Yeah. 50 cars.
The villain in 28 Days Later. I don't know if you guys, either one of you guys have ever watched Doctor Who, but he was the first Doctor when they revived that show in like 2005 or whenever it came back. For like I think a whole season, yeah.
I only know that by like through osmosis, like seeing stuff on the periphery. I never got into. Are you a big Doctor Who guy or no?
I was, yeah. I followed it. I mean, like when it came back, probably like 2006 or 7 to 2013 13, 14, and then I kind of fell off. I haven't watched any of the new seasons, but yeah, I used to be super into Doctor Who. It's a really versatile show. Is some episodes will be more comedic. They have some episodes of Doctor Who that are straight horror. They are
I've heard that
straight hard like short films that are really effective. But yes, I haven't checked it out in a while. I don't know if it's still good, but yeah, there's some great episodes of that.
I know people go fucking nuts for Doctor Who. I don't know if it's as big as it was like a few years ago, but
I feel like it's not. I feel like I don't hear about it as much because when I was into it, I mean, there's some hardcore like Doctor Who fans.
Yeah, I knew people that did like had like Doctor Who parties and shit for like every episode, and like it seemed kind of interesting, kind of cool, but it seems so insurmountable, like the amount of shit and like lore behind it. It's like one of those things, like for the longest time I never broke into Game of Thrones because I was like fucking 6 seasons back, and it seemed like this big sweeping kind of narrative and things. Like once things get too big like that for me, I'll just fucking pass on it because it seems like
Doctor Who started in the 60s, I think. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I thought I heard at some point that Doctor Who, through all of its different machinations, had like 50 seasons or something, some crazy high number.
Yeah, it started in the 60s, and I think from the like late 80s up until the 2000s, it took like a big break, and then they kind of rebooted everything. But I think the newer, like the post reboot era, I think there are a couple seasons where it's like if you never started, you can jump on here and just be fine. I think they're very new viewer friendly, as from what I've watched.
Yeah, I'd be interested to like maybe pick out and hone in on a couple of the darker episodes. Like I never got into this is a huge tangent, but the show Medium with Patricia Arquette that was on NBC for a long time, where she plays like a medium that helps cops like find killers and shit. I never got into it. My wife liked it, but she was like, dude, there's like 3 episodes that are like crazy horror, like super freaky, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And I watched a couple of them, and dude, they are pretty hardcore. So I'm not against kind of cherry picking some episodes that kind of scratch that itch, but
that's how you get stupid horror fans into anything. Like, there's an episode with a pumpkin in it. Like, oh shit, really? Let me check that one out. Like,
seriously,
sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Dude, we're getting there, man. We're halfway to August. It's like, fuck. For me, I always associate like Halloween and getting into the fall, like August. Once we get out of the J's, we get into August, September. It's like, let's fucking go. Let's do it. But I know like Soju, some of the more hardcore people are, it's like right after 4th of July. They're like, it's spooky season.
Yeah,
That's a touch
it's a little
too
early
for me.
Yeah. I have to feel a cool breeze for it to get fall. You know, it can't be in the 90s. It can't be in the 90s, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's Halloween time. Like, no.
Well, fuck, don't move to the West Coast, man, because it don't get cold there till like fucking Thanksgiving.
And they're all from fucking Florida, anyways. It's perpetual like summer there, so they don't know the difference between the seasons. Yeah, it's in California too.
Yeah, it's just fucking hot and then not hot for a week.
Yeah, for me, it's like mid-September when you get those first kind of cool days. I mean, because it stays hot as shit out here all July, August, sometimes even September, even into early October.
I remember my daughter was born in 2016, and she was born on Thanksgiving, and we went home 2 days later, and it was fucking 73 degrees. It was like, this is insanity. But yeah, I'm glad. Like in the Midwest, dude, I wore a hoodie earlier today, and like you got Steve's looking at like
heat stroke
triple digits tomorrow.
Yeah,
shit's insane.
Yeah, it sounds nice about now.
One thing, I guess, I mean, is there anything that we glossed over? I normally I try to like go over a movie, kind of first, second, third act, but this movie is so jumbled, and there's so many things going on that don't really make sense. I don't think that would behoove us to do that, but
yeah, we covered
you guys have anything?
We kind of, I guess we left off where they were at the Chinese restaurant, and then I'm kind of lost what happens after that.
There was a funny part early on where her pod gets like nuked or something, and she's like, I need to play this game with a friend to help fix it, which, like everything else, reasons unclear, no explanation. So she's like, all right, we're going to give you the port, and she plugs it in, and she's like, you neural fried it. He's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like,
oh, yeah, God. Yeah.
She's like, you must have stressed out and you neural surge overloaded it.
Yeah.
And he's like,
yeah. And I took notes about that because she mentions that this costs $38 million to make. So if you have a $38 million piece of technology, you don't back it up or copy it or it. When it went to shit and he fried it, she immediately knew what happened. If that was a possibility, why would you fucking why risk that chance when you don't have any other alternative or backup in place? Like,
yeah, I guess maybe they tried to pitch it like how these two are kind of like on the lam, and I mean they put it so on the nose. Chris Eccleston, his last line is like, "There's traitors in our own house or whatever. Don't trust anyone. Don't trust anyone." So and then they're off on the lam, just together. So I mean, they're trying to pitch it like they got nowhere to go. They got to do something real quick, and they don't even know if her own company that's backing her is maybe sabotaging her, but again, that's kind of like maybe that's making too many excuses or giving too much credit to the film that like, oh, well, they were actually in video game time. They were in VR land all the way from the beginning. So maybe we can explain it that way, but yeah,
and then she finds
that part's that wrong too. It's like, this guy don't know shit. He's already told you he's not she thought he was security first, and that's what I thought too. And he's like, I'm just a marketing intern, like it's like, how's she gonna lay all this crap on him? Like, he's like, yeah, I was a little nervous, but I didn't spaz out and fry your machine. Like, yeah, like why would you? That's your only copy? No.
Yeah, a little shade of Grandma's Boy in there. Like, that's my only copy of the game.
Oh, yeah. Man, that's a good movie. I haven't seen that in a fucking long time. You forgot smoking lamp.
Yeah. Dude, it holds up. Well, yeah, and then after the restaurant scene, I think that's when, isn't that when they find the diseased pod? And it's all fucked up, and she's like, plug it in. Great idea, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so they go to the restaurant. He makes the fucking gun out of his fucked up fish frog plate, and then he kills the waiter, and then that dude that he was on the assembly line with before, whose name is Nourish, he's like, yeah, this is actually a place, where we're farming these fucking amphibian things to fight back against the VR people, and we're the realists. That part kind of threw me off too. It's like, why are you farming all this material to make these pods? Were they trying to like roll out like a bunch of diseased ones to sabotage it like on a grand scale?
It wasn't clear.
I didn't get that.
And then they found the two-headed like lizard thing in the wild, and I think he asked like what it is, and she says it's just the state of things. So they were engineering those animals to farm for parts, I guess. But then you also have these weird mutated animals out in the wild, and she's like, "This is the state of things." They never explain what that means. Like, did something happen to mutate wildlife, or like again, it's just. And then at the end, of course, it's like, well, none of it really mattered anyway. So, guess we don't have to explain it.
I don't know, salamander, frog. God, I wish I had that soundbite. That part fucking killed me for some reason. Just the way she's just like so like flippant about like, it's like, yeah, what is this two-headed fucking crazy creature? And she's so like blasé about it. She's like, I don't know, some kind of fucking frog. Like,
and also sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Jennifer Jason Leigh, she always plays it like she's on like downers or like Valium or something. She's just like, she's always like half checked out, I feel like, any line delivery or whatever she's doing, except when her like precious little metapod gets fucked with, she'll have a little outburst like, oh, she's actually a human.
Right, yeah, especially in this.
But then after that, yeah, then there's this weird disease plot, like, and then he fucking lights it on fire with a handy dandy flamethrower he has. And then what's she do after that?
Well, he tries to cut it. He tries to cut the cord, and she's like, "I'm bleeding to
Take it
death."
out.
Yeah, and then they come in with the flamethrower. Doesn't she try to like inject it with like an anti fucking viral thing? I know there's one point she goes at it with like a syringe.
Yeah, it was hard to follow at that point. And then they come to the conclusion that they have failed the game, and that's when they.
Oh yeah, that's when they get kind of like when they get pulled in and out of different like realities, or I guess, or different environments. Then they're back in like that game shop, and then you find out like the first guy that they were talking to was like a double agent, and then that's when they inform him like, you know, the restaurant worker that you killed, he was actually a good guy, quote unquote, and when Jude Law thought he was like a realist and he blew him away, or he was compelled to for whatever reason. But and then they kind of slide back into that shitty hotel room, and then that's when like the commando fuck comes in and blows in half that fucking metapod thing, and yeah, it starts getting real weird right there. And then that's, you get these series of like back and forth like gotchas, and then like because Allegra Geller, she's like, "Oh, I'm on to you, Ted. I was on to you since the Chinese restaurant. I knew you were a double agent, you know." And that's when she fucking blows his back out, and she's like, "Oh, did I do it? Did I win the game?" You know, like it's very herky jerky, and yeah, this time it just didn't really sit well with me.
And something else that I thought they didn't expand on as much as they could have, but was an interesting idea. When they're in the game, there are these certain events that trigger an automated behavior that they have to follow, and so it was kind of it was a potential there for it to be really interesting, for any action to be like, "What was that?" And they did it somewhat, but was that me, or was that something the game character was supposed to do? I feel like they didn't really explore that as much as. I mean, other than when he licked her porthole thing, and he's like, "No, the game made me do it."
Yeah.
Other than that, I think that's the only time they kind of played around with that, where it was any kind of ambiguity as to who was making the decisions.
Yeah, I did think that one part was cool too, where I can't remember which guy they're talking to, but he's like spaced out. And he's like, "What the fuck is going on?" And she's like, "Well, he's waiting for you to prompt him with the next line of dialogue
to cycle through." Yeah,
like that could have been cool if they're like, okay, well, this guy's clearly waiting for something, so let's just leave him here and go check some shit out on our own or whatever, and then come back and like re-engage. But yeah, they decided not to do any of that cool stuff.
Yeah, I know it's early 90s, or it's late 90s when this came out, so video games aren't as obviously advanced as they would be in the 2000s, but yeah, I feel like they didn't explore a lot of the video gamey stuff in it. Yeah. Also, this fucking game sucks. I wouldn't...
Yeah.
what's the fucking worst game ever?
Yeah, it just seems like a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, initially, I feel like they sold it like with Jude Law, how he's first in that game shop, and he's like, "Oh fuck," he's like, "This feels so real," you know, and like, you know, it's different, and like the textures and things, and yeah, I wonder if it was a limitation of the time or the budget or just what this guy's picture idea in his head was of this movie, but it would have been cool to see him kind of like push the boundaries a little bit of like the sandbox like of this game, to see a little bit more of it. But I mean, I think the budget of this was like 15 million, and we're in late 90s, so I think there probably could have been ways of doing it. But yeah, I would have liked to see that a little bit more instead of kind of just going place to place. It seemed like they were just checking boxes on the story that they had in their head, the predetermined story. I would have liked to see it flex a little bit. I did have a little bit of interesting trivia, one of which looms large, and for Jennifer Jason Leigh. So I guess I had no idea about this, but I guess she had already finished shooting her role in its entirety for Eyes Wide Shut. That was also released in 1999, Kubrick film with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. And I wonder if she was meant to play Nicole Kidman's role, but I know there are some other roles that she could have fit in, but I struggle to think, like, with her star power at that time, like her being anyone but Nicole Kidman. But either way, when her scenes in Eyes Wide Shut required reshoots, the schedule required interfered with eXistenZ, and she chose to stay on eXistenZ. So her role in Eyes Wide Shut was completely recast and reshot. Wow. Okay. So that was not a good career move for her, but she seemed to have done well after this. The rest of her career, she's still worked and done some things. So, but I was like, yeah, that would have been much better.
I've never seen Eyes Wide Shut, but you'd think that would be really insane if she was the lead to just bail. She was probably just like a minor character, if I had to guess.
Yeah, that's a good call. I didn't think about it that way, but either way, like, some of the minor female roles in it are, I can only think of one besides Nicole Kidman, unless she was like one of the people with like the masks on and the crazy orgy fucking scene. But at any rate,
because Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise were married at the time, right?
Yeah, and it makes sense. I want to say that they were in cahoots, or they were working with Kubrick for like a long time, and they had wanted to like they had spent a lot of time on this, so they probably went in with it like that's the only way. Like, it was going to be him and her as the husband wife character in that film. Makes more sense. So either way, bad call for JJ Lee. Yeah. Another one I thought was interesting. Are either of you guys familiar with Salman Rushdie? I only know him by name.
Satanic verses.
Satanic. Yeah.
Didn't he just get stabbed almost to death a few months ago?
Really?
Yeah, he was on stage. He was on stage giving a speech or something at some college, and some guy ran on stage and like stabbed the shit out of him quite a few times. And I think they life-flighted him out, and I think he survived. But yeah, is it not the Satanic Bible, because that's Anton LaVey, but the Satanic Verses?
No, it is the Satanic Verses.
Okay. What does that have to do with this?
So Cronenberg, I don't know if he's a friend or just a fan of Salman Rushdie, but he said he claimed one of his main inspirations for this film, which was, I think this was one of Cronenberg's few original screenplays, I think, since either Videodrome or Scanners. So everything else he did in between that and this was like adapted stuff, like existing properties that he went and adapted and directed. But this was like an original, and he got his main source of inspiration was when, and I don't know what year this was. I want to say maybe sometime in the late 80s or sometime in the early 90s, but a fatwa was declared on author Salman Rushdie following the publication of his book, The Satanic Verses, which is crazy that just recently, like, someone cashed in on that. But so I vaguely understand what a fatwa is. That's just like a religious or like a holy or like a blood pact to like on site like or fucking you up. Something like that, yeah. Yeah,
it's like declaring jihad or something. It's like,
yeah.
But I do love that word. And they even said it in this movie, and
they did, yeah. They did. But I picked that up because this was like a second or third watch that I watched, and I did some background and then watched it again. I was like, oh fuck, they even used that term in the flick. But yeah, I guess he ruffled a shit ton of feathers with, I mean, something. The Satanic Verses tells me all I need to know, like how that can stir some shit up. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. And like, I mean, that through lines here, like you have the realists and the VR, and like, you know, it could be anyone. Like that must be such a fucked up like way to go through life. It's like, it's not just one person saying I want to kill you. It's like a religion or a sect of people that's like, you never know. Like, and then to hear you say just a couple of months ago he's fucking jacked, that sucks. Yeah, that's super lame. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting piece of trivia about this one. And another one that credit also to IMDb, because I never would have picked this out, but I thought it was pretty cool, was the character of Allegra may be a reference to a minor character of the same name in Samuel R. Delaney's novella, The Star Pit. In that novella, Allegra is a child prodigy able to telepathically project any type of reality she wishes on anyone around her. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Don't see the connection.
I stopped.
Yeah, I mean, an obvious reference.
like a lot of things
halfway through that, just like this movie.
You asshole.
This is me at the Regal Cinema crying as I did through much of the film.
That was you watching eXistenZ. Let it end mercifully.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't hard to get through. It was not the worst movie I've seen that by a long shot. It's still competent for the most part, but yeah, I'd be lying if I said I was super excited to watch it again.
Yeah, I feel about the same. And looking at it, I was like, oh, cool, this will be nice, crisp. I think it was like an hour and 36 minutes or hour and 37.
Hour and 37.
So.
Well, every minute. I was a little worried that both of you guys were going to be like, great film. I love what he did. With
Yeah. Yeah, at least Misery Loves Company on this one. So I think I'm giving it a little bit more credit, but than you fellas. But yeah, at the end of the day, I was like,
I definitely don't feel like it dragged in any spot. And that's just because it had so much stuff, like what the fuck stuff going on. But yeah, I was never sitting there like clock watching. I was pretty engaged for the most part, even if it was for the wrong reasons sometimes. But yeah, it definitely, you would say it's not long in the tooth, I guess.
I'm such an impatient bastard. The first time I checked how far along I was 6 minutes in.
Damn.
Oh
Yeah.
man. That soon.
I mean, how can that be profitable for Frito-Lay?
Stop. God damn it, stop.
3 for 1.
Yeah.
How can that be profitable for Frito-Lay?
So good.
Man.
But I think that's part of the reason why I've never been a big movie guy is I just get kind of stir crazy. Like I can't sit around and just like watch a movie for an hour or 2 hours. So
I find over 2 hours is tough for me now. Anything over 90 minutes, I start feeling it's got to be really good or engaging. And even movies that a lot of times that are really good, hour 30, I'm like, let's wrap this shit up. And it's so common for every movie to be like 2 hours and 20 minutes these days. Like,
yeah, I hear that argument too, but I think for me, I like to know that a movie is like an hour and 50 plus, maybe cut it off around 2.5 hours, because if I don't like it, I'll just cut it off around the 90-minute mark if I don't think, okay, this isn't going where I wanted it to go or whatever. But I like to know like a flick has the room to breathe, or like it, because if I really do like it, like your Zodiacs, things like that are like 2.5 hours, or like, Prisoners was like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that. I like to have it like a film that can fill that entire time is satisfying, more so than like if I watch something that I really liked and it's a quick brisk 90 minutes, it's like I always feel like I want a little bit more. So that's just a preference thing.
I guess all it comes down how effectively it's used. And again, even movies I really like sometimes it's hard to find justification for that runtime. Like the last Batman movie, like I thought that movie was really fucking good, but it ended like 3 times. It had 3 climaxes and they're each like 20 minutes long. And I was like, you could have wrapped all this up and wrote it in a different way where all of those things tied together in the same climax. But yeah, I was like, God damn, this movie's still ending. It's like, it just ended like 30 minutes ago and it's still going. And it was good. I enjoyed it, but I was like, and I'm old as shit. And I can't stay awake if I sit still for longer than an hour and a half. So I'm sure that factors into it.
And you're talking about The Batman with Pattinson?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen that one yet, Steve?
I haven't. No. I haven't seen any of the Christopher Nolan Batmans,
That's fine.
Anything.
I'd say the first one, Batman Begins, is pretty rad. And I go against the grain. I don't see what all the hype is about Dark Knight. and then the third
really?
one I
Okay.
thought was trash.
I went back to The Dark Knight because I had a little debate as trying to figure out if this new Batman was better than The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight holds up. It still holds up for me pretty well. It's still my favorite Batman, and still one of the best superhero movies, I think.
Right on. Yeah, some about it. It didn't click for me, but this newest one's pretty cool because I feel like it departs from like the real comic booky Hollywood idea. Like it's not the same thing, but it feels more gritty and kind of like grimy, and I don't know what the word is, but
people said that about it's funny. People said that about the Nolan movies too.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like in hindsight they are pretty polished. In comparison to like I'm thinking of like the newest Batman and like Michael Keaton, like the first Batman, like they felt pretty bare bones on like the detective work that he's doing, and then you get a high tech infusion kind of with the Nolan films.
Right.
I do really like Batman Begins, like that origin story, like that one's super satisfying for me. But I don't know. I think one of my biggest problems with Dark Knight is I really don't like Aaron Eckhart. And I didn't
really?
I don't like
dude, I thought he's fucking awesome in that movie.
I don't like his fucking Harvey Dent at all. But that's just me.
And it's funny because even the 89 Batman people said that one was kind of dark for a superhero movie. Because I mean, what did you have before that? The Superman movies, the Christopher Reeves.
Oh yeah.
So have you guys ever seen that? You guys familiar with The Watchmen, the comic?
Yeah,
there's a movie too. But there's a part in that where the character Dr. Manhattan, he. Not to get too nerdy about Watchmen, but basically his character exists in every single time period at the same time, and so they kind of play around with that, where he's sitting down reflecting on his life, and he's bouncing around between timelines and experiencing them all at the same time. And they made a meme out of it, and there's a meme, and it says it's 1989. There's a new, grittier, darker Batman movie out, and it says. It's 2005. There's a darker, grittier Batman movie coming out, and it's 2022. There's a darker, grittier Batman coming out.
Yeah, I understand that for sure. But this one, I think I liked the like the detective work and like kind of like the lo-fi kind of edge. Yeah. Like
it definitely had. It definitely felt like it was a crime, like detective procedural thriller. That happened to have Batman in it. Like right. I really like that. Like you could have taken Batman out of that and had just some random detective hero guy, and it would have worked just as well.
Yeah.
Well, we know, that's a
good way to nutshell it. Oh yeah, that's right. I also there's a pretty rad fucking scene with the Batmobile when he's chasing down Penguin, who's played by fucking Colin Farrell, who's unrecognizable as the Penguin. That scene's fucking badass.
Can I just circle back real quick to something you said earlier that I think explains a little bit why I don't like these really long ones and why I can't sit for a long time? You mentioned if you're watching like a 2.5 hour movie and you don't like it after 90 minutes, you'll just bail. I cannot do that. It's the same.
Oh yeah, you got that thing in you, like I gotta finish it, you know?
Well, yeah, because I'd hate to bail early and find that it redeems itself in the end. It's the same with books too. Like I cannot get halfway through it and be like, this sucks shit. I'm gonna stop reading it. I have to power through, even if it takes.
Fallacy.
I know.
Have you ever heard of opportunity cost?
You work for the bank. The bank works for me. So ipso facto, I'm your boss.
Oh fuck. Yeah.
I can usually tell if there's something. I've seen enough movies where I can get the vibe early on, or I'd say about halfway through it. If there's going to be anything redeemable in the end, it depends on the movie too. There are some movies that do pick up at the end, where I'm like, oh, it actually made it all worth it. But if there's a certain level of bad where I'm like, there's nothing that's going to save this fucking movie for me.
Yeah, the older I've gotten, the easier I've found to let go of that tick to like, because I have a lower level like completionist. Like fuck, I've spent an hour and a half on this. I got to finish these last 30 minutes or 20 minutes or even like at the 45-minute mark. If I'm not feeling it, I'm totally cool just fucking disconnecting, because I know, okay, well, I'll just watch something that I do want to watch, or I'll give something else a chance. But one thing, I just recently watched the fucking new Indiana Jones. I took my nephew and we saw The Dial of Destiny. God damn, that was fucking horrific, man. And I gave it every opportunity. But if I hadn't spent the money, and if I wasn't there with my nephew, just having a good time, I mean, that was cool, like getting to see the spectacle. But if I would have been by myself, dude, in that movie, I dozed off within the first 30 minutes for 20 minutes. I was snoring. My nephew had to kind of jab me. I took a shit, and I went down and fucking sucked down a glizzy. No, in the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
And I went down a third time because I was starving, and I sucked down a glizzy in the lobby, and then went back in, and there was still like 45 minutes left on this fucking thing, dude. It was rough. Hot dog.
What is that?
Colloquial corner, man.
Is that a known slang?
Yeah, it's new school.
I was, because I have only heard of that recently. I was like, what the fuck is a glizzy? And I was like, oh, it's a hot dog? And it's like, has that always been around? Or is that a new fucking word?
I'm old as shit. So an additional layer to like my weird autistic movie thing, if I'm going to see a movie in theaters, I don't necessarily know how long it is, because I wouldn't look. So if you're getting there, it's like an hour 45, hour 50, 2 hours. Like, Jesus Christ, are we going to wrap this fucking thing up? And if it ends up being 2 hours, 45 minutes, yeah, that's tough. I guess
I look now.
I was going to say, I should just solve that problem by looking.
Just quick Google. And I'm a purist about like theater. Like, I'll hold my piss until I'm about to just start leaking somewhere, you know? So for me to like cut ties like 30, 40 minutes in to go take a dump, I was like, yeah, this is not doing it for me at all. But
what is it? You said a glizzy or a grizzy?
A glizzy. Hot dog.
Why? What's the
I don't know why. I don't know where the G comes from, but that's just what they call it.
But you know where the Lizzie comes from?
No. I don't know where any part of it comes from.
Hey, Steve, I thought the same thing. I was like, what's the Lizzie mean then?
Yeah, the G, I don't know, but the rest of it makes perfect sense if you just think about it. Obviously.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, I don't know. I like it though, so I'll run with it. There's a new one coming out too. Oppenheimer. Have you guys seen previews for that? That's a long ass one.
I'm looking forward to that.
I went to buy tickets today. Yeah, I went to buy tickets today, and I was like, wait, how long is this? And I went 3 hours. Fuck. That's gonna be a real obstacle for me. that 3 hour length, man.
Is it those right on the nose?
Two viewings.
I mean, you've got to imagine it's going to be worth it, right?
Oh yeah, it looks like it's going to be great. Every indicator, it seems like it's going to be well worth it. But that runtime, man, I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's right on the dot. 3 hours.
Yeah,
it's got all-star cast. I heard there's a lot. I hear now too. There's it's coming out. There's a lot of full frontal nudity, so that's a plus.
Male or fucking female?
Both. I think it's equal opportunity in this one. So you get to see some. The fuck's his name?
You get some Blizzies,
Cillian Murphy dong.
You get some Blizzies, some Mizzies.
See some glizzies. Go suck down a glizzy in the lobby. Who else? What's Florence Pugh? Is in it? Yeah. She'll have some full frontal. So. Because they play lovers, I believe, in this film. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But, yeah, I didn't realize it was fucking 3. I thought it was 2.5. That's nuts. All right. Did you look up any trivia for this, either of you guys, or anything else you guys want to talk about regarding eXistenZ?
No, I couldn't find any trivia on it. I found out a bunch of stuff about eXistenZ, but I mean, that's...
I've got a lot of questions from my doctor now, based on side effects from this gas station dick pill. But other than that,
I found a guy I can get yellow jackets and eXistenZ at a price.
Some rhino pills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, it's not. Whatever is in Viagra, I guess, is not in this. Apparently, whatever it's some kind of supplement. It's not technically a pharmaceutical medicine.
Oh, it rides on the periphery of not being approved by the FDA.
I was going to say, is that
code for memory loss?
It's not technically FDA approved, but
right. Overdose can cause, overdose side effect can cause memory loss, which sounds like a fucking great movie.
Yeah, there you go.
Nolan, can you imagine Memento? if it in the end he took some eXistenZ, he just wakes up with no memory and an erection that lasts for 4 hours. Yeah, I'd fucking watch that movie.
Dude, can you cut and edit him saying that like 5 minutes ago? You're like, yeah, it's the weirdest thing. This eXistenZ. Apparently, it affects memory.
Warning: eXistenZ affects the memory. Well, this is probably your first intro to David Cronenberg, which is probably not the best entry point in retrospect. But if you ever come across anything else that he's directed, I would implore you to watch it, because I guess looking at his kind of spate of hits that we rattled off towards the beginning, this is definitely the weakest, probably among all those. But The Fly is awesome because you got crazy Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis is great in it. It's pretty fucking gory too. It's pretty wild. But Videodrome's an awesome flick. History of Violence is cool. I've never seen Eastern Promises either, but I'm pretty cool with Viggo Mortensen. He's a pretty good actor. So Scanners is rad as fuck too. But
Scanners is good. And The Brood is good.
Yeah, he's actually got like quite a few hits, and he's fucking old too now. He's got to be like 80 or he's getting up there. His son actually too
is fucking weird too.
Yeah, I've heard mixed results from Crimes of the Future, but if it's a better version of this, I think that'll push me to watch it.
Have you seen his son's movies, Possessor and
I've only seen Possessor, and I really liked it.
It was really good. Yeah, Infinity Pool's good too. I don't think it's as good, but yeah, he's definitely got whatever the fuck's wrong with his dad. He's the same thing. they're two peas in a pod. They're very strange, both of those movies.
Yeah, I've only heard by reputation, and then I saw Possessor, and I was like, oh yeah, I can see the influence, like for sure. Like it's that very specific kind of, you hear it beat over your head, body horror. But I mean, that's the best way to describe it. It's very graphic. It's real. I think kind of like in the same way as like Paul Verhoeven, like he has like how like he stylizes kind of like ultra violence, like in RoboCop and Starship Troopers. Total Recall even is kind of brutal in some parts, but just like the grotesque like body shit, like the chicken Total Recall with Verhoeven does with the chick with 3 tits, and the guy with like the crazy practical effects, like that's kind of a hallmark too. But
yeah, what's interesting about Verhoeven is I guess the violence in his movies are so over the top it almost makes you feel detached from what's going on. Brandon Cronenberg, David Cronenberg's son, the violence in Possessor and Infinity Pool, it's almost too real. Like, I watch a lot of movies with a lot of violence in them, but the way he portrays violence in his movie, you kind of cringe and turn away. Like, it's like watching somebody like really get fucking murdered.
Yeah.
There's some brutal scenes in Infinity Pool and in Possessor too. That like there's a murder scene in that where I'm like, God damn, like it looks too real and it's played too straight, and the people react in a realistic way. You're like, I don't really want to watch it. I feel like I'm really watching somebody get fucking murdered here. It makes the violence like not cool. Like
yeah, it's like borderline like snuff film.
Yeah.
There is a scene. There's a kill in Possessor that is fucking brutal. It's probably the same one you're thinking of. With involves like a fire poker, I believe.
Oh man, I watched a bunch of violent shit, and that I had to like kind of turn away and kind of look over the side. Like, yeah, it was very effective.
Yeah, there's like it's like a fire poker going through like I want to say like teeth and jaw and like fucking knuckles and shit. And it's really fucked up. But yeah, I like Possessor a lot. Like all the actors in that film are dope. Yeah, you might like Possessor. It's pretty fucking rad.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
I'd say probably a lot of similarities to this.
Yeah, honestly, because it has like well, it's done in a way cooler way. Like it's like the idea of like, you know, jacking into something, but it's more like a puppeteer way. Like you're hijacking someone else's body unbeknownst to them and taking them over and using them as like a vessel to be an assassin and pull off covert hits. So it's kind of cool in that way. It's not like you're jacking into like VR. It's not a Matrix kind of thing. It's like taking over I guess, but it's done in a way cooler way than that.
I'm in. I love that movie.
Yeah, Malkovich is a fucking kooky ass movie too. All right, cool. Well, yeah, this has been our review of eXistenZ. Doesn't sound like a very a shining review, but I don't know. I guess if you're into late 90s kind of weird sci-fi, can't judge between what's real and what's not, and you want to check it out and round out the Cronenberg catalog, I say go for it in that respect. But
I would never recommend anybody watch this movie ever.
Oh shit!
Ever.
There you have it.
Yep. There.
I mean, unless you want to, that's fine. But
I should have done it before. I was going to bring up the bone gun and I was going to do the boner alert, but do it. Bone alert. But I didn't have enough time.
You should make an edit where
Baseball.
You should make an edit where they every time they fire the gun, it says boner alert.
Bone alert. Okay, so yeah, that's been this review. If you have any questions, comments, if you've seen eXistenZ, what'd you think? Are you on the side of Steve and Miles, or are you willing to give it a little bit of leeway? Hate mail is encouraged. You can reach us at wax@waxingtheporpoise.com or either of our socials. Instagram is @waxingtheporpoise. Twitter is @waxingtheporp. I gotta set up a Threads. I guess there's a new fucking social media platform to rival the Dirty Bird now from Facebook called Threads. So maybe we'll get on that.
Does Waxing the Porpoise have a big TikTok presence?
No, I never got into that side. It's too much. Even just between, I said fuck Facebook, and I just share it on like my personal account. Like I'll just fucking I'll link it that way. But between just Instagram and fucking Twitter, it's like that's it's enough. And maybe I'll churn out a reel once an episode, like once a week. But that's really pushing my bandwidth. I don't got time for fucking Snapchat, TikTok, Rumble, fucking everything else out there. It's that's a full-time job almost. I feel like
I was really
trying to press something.
I thought you said Bumble, because isn't that like a dating website?
Oh, Bumble, yes.
No. Rumble is like one of these like alt. I don't know if it's like specifically alt right, but it's like shit that gets banned off of YouTube. I think is what it is, or like BitChute is another one that people use when they get banned off of YouTube. But yeah, there's a lot of shit. Mastodon's another one people use. I guess it's like a Twitter stand-in, but
post it to your Grindr account.
What's that? Let's see.
You want me to drag him out of here? Kick the shit out of him?
That was just for you. I went lean on bumps last one. I was trying to get it in.
House rules.
House rules. Yep. Cool. Actually, one thing while you're on still with us, Miles, I was gonna float it to you. I know you've said, you know, The Thing has been done 100 times, but it just came to light to me that Steve has never seen The Thing before. So we were thinking about coming back to that. I know you're a big fan of that flick. If you'd ever be interested,
I did. It's funny. I actually listened to that episode pretty recently, and you're like, "Oh, maybe we should do The Thing." I'm like, "Fuck!" I hope he asks me if I want to do that.
Bang! Felt it through the airwaves.
My not to overhype it. It's I guess this will overhype either way. It's probably my favorite movie.
Damn.
Like full stop. Yeah. So
it's a heavy hitter for sure. Yeah, I'd be curious too to see it like with fresh someone with fresh eyes, like in their 30s watching it for the first time. Yeah, it's an awesome flick, and you're already on board with Keith David and Kurt Russell, and it's super rad. Carpenter, it's one of Carpenter's best films for sure.
Yep, gonna pop in eXistenZ before I watch it.
Sounds like an awesome midweek respite. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we'll coordinate on that. Next week, what do we got? I think loosely we agreed on we're going to talk about maybe some high strangeness involved with a local regional delight, Mount Shasta, Lemurians, and offshoots relating to Missing 411. It's kind of a grab bag. Mount Shasta is like it's got a lot of weird shit surrounding it. So, I guess tentative for that. That's what we'll be talking about next week. So that should be interesting. But yeah, leave us a like, rating, subscribe, jam that bell, whatever the fuck you do.
Hate mail.
Bring it on. We're dry. Yeah. Thanks for joining us again, Miles. We appreciate you.
Always a fun time.
Good to see you again.
All righty. And we'll see you when we see you, and we'll see you later.
Well, for me, the action is the juice.